From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Yes, and welcome to the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. That's me, and I'm joined every week by Orlondo Steinauer, Hamilton's head coach. The Hamilton head coach whose team has won the last two games by a spread of a total of 45 points, whose starting quarterback is the CFL Performer of the Week. Coach, what's it feel like?
Well, winning always feels good, Luke. You know that. And really proud of our guys. It's easy to look at records, but you don't play records. You play teams. And every team puts together a game plan to beat you. And, we went out last week and we went out there a little bit shorthanded and battled some adversity and injuries. So definitely felt good, but we've actually, that's currently in the rearview mirror and we're moving forward.
Things did look just a little bit different last week. They look different in Ottawa as well. What do you account for that? What's changed about this team the last two games?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that go in as far as just the tangible stuff of actual playing. I feel like, the most important position on the field, we're getting efficient play there at quarterback. I feel like Jeremiah is he's probably as close to as healthy as going to get. I feel like we've protected a little bit better. Obviously, we ran the ball extremely well in Edmonton, and I thought we ran it, a good amount in Ottawa and kept things off balance. I think the defense was able to take the ball away against Ottawa. We did not take it away in Edmonton, but we didn't let them sustain drives. Special teams has been solid. We haven't turned the ball over. I think it's real simple formula. If you're not going to take it away, you definitely can't turn it over. And so I think that there's a laundry list of things that happen, but it is one game. You only get 2 points for each one. And so we're looking forward to this week's game against BC.
One of the things that obviously stood out about last week's game, there was 28 penalties in the game in total, 15 against the Ticats. Is it something that is coached? Do you think something about it? What's the message there?
Oh, yeah, there's a strong message. We coach penalty-free football all the time. That part of the game was extremely disappointing. Some of them are technical and some of them are definitely controllable and preventable. And, if we hope to get where we need to go, then, you're leaving it up to chance when you take that amount of penalties. So yeah, definitely not proud of that, but I'd definitely love to coach off of a win versus those being the reason for the loss. But there's no doubt that, having played this game long enough and coached in it, that you don't always come out on the right side of those when you take that many penalties.
Mm. So I know you're coming from the defensive side of the ball, but you're in charge of the whole show now. So I got to ask you some offensive questions because my head was just spinning during as I called this last game. And as I looked afterward, the average yards per attempt for passing for the Hamilton offense was 15. Average per completion was over 20. I mean, that's unusual. And we haven't seen that in the games leading up to this point in the season. What do you account for that? Can you speak to Tommy Condell's play calling at all?
Well, I think each week the game plan is based off of what the other team is doing. And, and then also you have to be able to make that adjustment in game. Like oftentimes there's the plan after the plan. I think running the ball effectively changed a few of their calls and kept them off balance, which allowed us to throw the ball down the field maybe more early on than we may have planned. Sometimes they forced our hand, when we knew we were going to get man to man. Sometimes you got to put it out there for your receivers to make plays. And I feel like, when they did challenge us in that way, we had the green light. Tommy did a great job of enabling, Jeremiah and obviously the offense to go ahead and go for it. It's always about the player's execution, but you got to give them the opportunity. So I think there's a lot of things that contributed to it. But there was no, plan to say that, 75% of our plays are going to be X number of yards or greater. You were part of some of those offenses where it just clicked and you we go to the critical stats after the game and, we're near double digits in explosion. That just kind of seemed like the theme of 19. And so, when you're hot like that, you kind of got to try people and see where it's at. But it's hard to make a living off of just that.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the turnovers earlier, because Tommy Condell is so you guys preach that toxic ratio, and that is such a telling stat in football because it just doesn't account for turnovers. It's the combination of turnovers and explosive plays. And so where in a week where you're not able to take the ball away, you at least protect the ball, like you said, and then you got explosive plays and you win that toxic ratio regardless, or in a new way, or you do what you have to do to win that ratio. Very impressive. Speedy B unable to finish the game. Braylon Addison, of course, is struggling with health issues as well. But you have a whole crew of young receivers who continue to make plays, and then a new one pops onto the scene. Ternowski gets a huge arrow route across the field there. Can you speak to that room or just the energy with the young receiving core?
Well, they were a work in progress from the beginning. And, when you show them previous clips of how it's been done, of course, they're looking at you run routes. They're looking at Speedy. They're looking at Braylon Addison. They're looking at a lot of experience. And it just doesn't happen like that. Right. And so they had a lot to absorb, and then when you're in those situations, they necessarily weren't getting the reps that you would need to really, climb the ladder quicker, if you will.
Yeah.
So, but that never diminished them. They just came to work every day, learned, absorbed, took the hard coaching, and then brought their skill set. I mean, they're skilled. They can run. They're quick. They're tough. They catch the football. They just, you can't speed up or slow down time. And that's just what they need. That's experience to get out there on game day. And can even include, Poppy White in there, who hasn't been activated for a while. So the energy is outstanding. Tommy and Jared have done a great job with them, and they've been thrust into action, but they've responded.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just an impressive show from guys who don't always get their names called, and guys who are making plays. We talked about Jeremiah. I mean, he is, in my mind, playing at the would have been MOP in status in 2019 that he had left the game as, and he seems to be back to that. In a quick exchange I had with him, he brought to my attention Tommy Condell and the way he's performing and his offensive line. And he's saying right now he's got a group of guys in front of him who are taking care of their business. It's showing up in the sacks for, sacks against. Can you speak to that position group as well?
Yeah, I think if there's a group that needs to gel, it's the offensive line, and that's just, that's not a secret. And it's hard to gel when you've got different faces in there. It just is. As much as you think it's individual, that the person you're working next to is extremely important. And so when you can keep the continuity there, it gives you the best chance. And we finally settled in on a group of 7 or 8 that we feel like can get it done. And more importantly, thinking that they can get it done and having them executed are two different things. And I think that they have stepped up. And I think, Mike Gibson deserves a lot of credit along with, of course, the offensive staff. But I think these guys have taken it to heart and know that to give ourselves the best opportunity is to keep our quarterback upright as often as possible and not running for his life. And, hey, I can't say enough about the job, and it's really the perseverance that they've had, because it's no fun. Like, it's no fun for them when things don't go well. Right. And they take it personal, and we have a long way to go, and we're not resting on anything. We're not being complacent. And so we think our best football is still ahead of us.
The Ticats this year, I believe it's 8 games. The Ticats have scored the first point of the game. And not including Edmonton, Edmonton got the single first, which started that off. So, but at the end of the first quarter, it was 1-14, Ticats' favor. What about this team has made starting so well part of their MO?
Well, you don't know what every game's going to be a little bit different, but we do practice that. You know how we start practice every day, and it's with the offense backed up and coming out, and we're going to move the ball regardless down the field. And, you'd like to think that you get a little bit of benefit from that. And also, just emphasis of a couple of first downs. That's how it always starts. It's very rare that you just drop back and throw a bomb and you get a touchdown. It's usually a somewhat of a sustained drive, somewhere between 4 and 8 plays, at least. So, to sit here and say, well, this is what it is, I'd be lying to you. But I do know that, that if you want an opportunity to contribute, you got to stay on the field. And, that comes from within. That comes from players that are self-starters. It comes from execution and not taking, penalties to put us, behind, i.e., being offside. So it's 1st and 15 or those type of things. So I think we've done a good job early in the game of not, not putting ourselves in less advantageous situations.
Every Ticats practice starts off with the offensive drive down the field after warm-up. Every practice ends with, and we say it in the broadcast every week, the best play in football with taking a knee to end the game when you have the lead. Loved that. Love your mentality in that habit that the team has, and I love calling it in the game as well when I'm in the booth. Finally, Coach, the BC Lions coming out of the game in Toronto. Either team had many chances to win that game. That could have gone either way many times. Now it is must win for the Lions, but they are coming off 5 losses. What's going on with this team, and what's your plan this week for the BC Lions?
Well, I'm always very, very cautious about talking about other people's football teams and whatnot, but obviously you have to look at them and prepare for victory. And, they obviously played well enough to win last week. The scoreboard didn't reflect that. I would say that they've been in other games, maybe not that tight, but there's been opportunities where things just haven't went their way. They're going to put all that behind them. I've been around Rick Campbell coach teams long enough to know that one thing they will be is prepared, and they are going to put the past behind them. And that's just from me looking at his football teams from afar over the years, and even watching him coach defense. So this is going to be a playoff type game. That's the bottom line. And anytime somebody's backs are against the wall like that, you better expect their best. With that being said, we will spend a good amount of time focusing on BC and what they might do. But the majority of our focus, as you know from being around me, will be on ourselves and our execution and turning up the thermostat and raising the temperature and the standards that we need to accomplish our goals. So that's been the focus, but we'll always prepare, and respect our opponent. But at the end of the day, the majority of our time will be on ourselves and where we can get better. Great.
Coach, as always, really appreciate your time and your insight. Keep climbing the mountain towards what will be a great finish to the season here. Yes. Looking forward to our talks for in the weeks to come. This week we'll see you up in Hamilton again for the BC Lions at Tim Hortons Field. Thanks, Coach.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke. We'll see you next week.
The Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. Like, subscribe, and find out what Coach is thinking every Tuesday.